Are aliens real?
Uh, they're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in what is it?
Area 51?
Area 51. There's no underground facility, unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the President of the United States.
What was the first question you wanted answered when you became president?
Where are the aliens?
Where are the aliens?
For decades, if you said that sentence out loud, there are aliens, you were crazy. You were the punchline, the tinfoil hat guy, the tinfoil hat girl. But now, former presidents are joking about it, hinting at it, acknowledging that there are things in our skies we can't explain. Because back in 1947, when something crashed outside Roswell, New Mexico, the US military didn't joke. They issued a press release saying they had recovered a flying saucer. And then, 24 hours later, they said it was just a weather balloon. So what happened? And why has the story never fully settled? Hey y'all, it's Simi, and today we're putting on our little tinfoil space helmets because we're crash landing into the Roswell incident. Okay, so is it just me, or was it super sus of the army to boldly proclaim retrieving parts from a crash-landed flying saucer, only to say 24 hours later, well, actually, we never retrieved that never happened, it was just a weather balloon, okay? Like, I mean, how do you even make that mistake? I honestly didn't know much about this event outside of it being referenced in Saturday morning cartoons when I was growing up, so it was super fun diving into the research for this episode. As always, this video is for entertainment purposes only. We're diving into Roswell with curiosity, but we are doing so with a balanced view. So grab your drink, get cozy while we crash land into Roswell, New Mexico. So it's early July 1947, you're a rancher right outside of Roswell, New Mexico, and you're in the middle of a severe lightning storm. You stumble upon strange debris scattered across a large area. You notify the sheriff, who then contacts the Roswell Army Airfield. You describe the material that you found as foil-like, with sticks and rubber, which appear to be indestructible. After you handed the wreckage over to the United States Air Force, the Roswell Army Airfield issued a press release stating that they'd captured a quote-unquote flying saucer. Word spread around the country like wildfire, but within 24 hours, the Air Force retracted their claim and issued a revised statement informing the world that the wreckage was not from a UFO, but merely remnants of a weather observation balloon that had crashed. This was the experience of William Ware, aka Mac Brazel, and this marked the beginning of the Roswell UFO Incident. Before we go any further, I think it's super important that we look into the context in which the series of events unfolded in the summer of 1947. At the time, the US was in the early stages of the Cold War, and that was a war that had people concerned that the US was going head-to-head or toe-to-toe with the Soviet Union in a competition that could last a short or a long time, but it could ultimately result in nuclear annihilation.
A prospect that was far more frightening than a UFO at that time.
One of the first reported incidents of someone seeing a flying saucer was a pilot and businessman named Kenneth Arnold. He reported seeing a flying saucer while piloting an aircraft around Mount Rainier in the summer of 1947. This opened the floodgates and led to hundreds of UFO sightings subsequently pouring in. Another thing to consider during this time period was the panic caused by Orson Welles' 1938 radio adaptation of H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds. It was a broadcast that aired on October 30th. It was a Halloween special, and it presented a fictional Martian attack on the Earth. Now, typically the program was formatted as a series of realistic news bulletins, but this one caused quite the stir, or quite the panic, when people actually believed it was real. They believed the Earth was being attacked by Martians. So, given the context, I can kind of see why Mac, the rancher who found the UFO that crashed, would reportedly load up his truck with all the wreckage that he could find and turn all that evidence over to the sheriff. The evidence was then driven to Roswell, where the 509th Composite Group was stationed. Yes, this was the same unit of the United States Air Force that deployed the atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II. The evidence was turned over to Major Jesse Marcel, who was the head of intelligence. The Roswell Army Airfield then issued the infamous press release claiming that they'd captured a flying saucer. Marcel was then swiftly ordered to personally deliver the wreckage to Brigadier General Roger Ramey in Fort Worth, Texas. Somehow, the original wreckage went missing and was replaced with a neoprene rubber balloon and a shredded radar reflector kite. Allegedly, Marcel was instructed to never breathe a word of what happened to the press or his family. Then General Ramey proceeded to hold a press conference where he claimed that the wreckage was only remnants of a weather balloon crash. Allegedly, Marcel was instructed to never breathe a word of what happened to the press or to his family. Marcel broke his 30-year silence when he became terminally ill in 1980.
It was not anything from this earth.
25 miles away from the original debris field location, a team of archaeologists from Western Texas Tech came across a pod, an egg-shaped crab the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. And guess what they found? Not only the pod, but they also allegedly found little creatures with gray bodies and big old heads. Okay? And at least that's how the wife of Captain Oliver Henderson described what her husband told her about what he saw while transporting the alleged alien bodies out of Roswell to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Daytona, Ohio. That's a lot of information, but I just wanted to try my best to tell a full story as I possibly can, so I had to try to stay as close to the script as possible. So that was a lot of reading, a lot of information, but I just wanted to paint a clear picture of the evidence and witness statements that we have. What does the government officially claim happened in Roswell? Well, the US government has tried to explain what happened in several different ways. The first was a 231-page report released in 1994, co-written by Special Agent of Investigations Richard Weaver. He said that he wanted there to be something in the records, but he found almost nothing in the Air Force records about Roswell. Then later connected the event to Project Mogul. Project Mogul was a top-secret Air Force project whose primary purpose was to detect Soviet nuclear explosions and ballistic missiles using naval acoustical sensors, blah, 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 lots of specialized jargon. All that to say, the material was found in the crash site at Roswell was the balloons used for Project Mogul. The second explanation issued by the US government was in 1997 when the Air Force released the Roswell report written by Captain James McAndrew, which addressed the alleged bodies found in New Mexico. Those alleged alien bodies that were found were just test dummies carried by high-altitude research balloons. That was the explanation, so nothing to see here.
For these tests, dummies were transported up to 98,000 feet by high-altitude balloons. The dummies were released for a free-fall period, during which body movements and escape equipment performance were recorded by a variety of instruments. Many of the dummies landed outside the confines of military reservations and were regularly observed by local civilians.
The final government explanation for the secrecy around the 1947 debris recovery was due to the Cold War military programs and not anything to do with aliens. And that to me just says that we lied, we meaning the government, and we lied to you for your own benefit. Okay? So they're just admitting that they're liars, which tells me that they aren't to be trusted. Right? And like, does that make sense? So now we know the official story according to the US government. What is the story according to ufologists and conspiracy theorists? Well, they don't have the solid evidence that what was found in Roswell was extraterrestrial, but they do believe the Air Force is covering something up. While Project Mogul itself was classified, the materials used weren't. The materials used were off-the-shelf weather balloons, so there was no reason for Major Jesse Marcel, the guy who retrieved the material from the rancher, to not recognize that off-the-shelf weather balloon material. The other thing is that the Roswell incident was reportedly connected to flight number 4 in Project Mogul. However, that flight had been canceled due to bad weather. One more thing mentioned by ufologists is regarding the crash test dummies, which didn't even come into existence until 1952, 5 years after the incident. Which I checked it out myself, and the development of these crash dummies actually started in 1949 by Sierra Engineering Company under contract with the Air Force. So, what do I think of all this? Well, for decades, if you believed in aliens, or if you believed that aliens crashed in Roswell, you were labeled as crazy. You were labeled as stupid, a kook. No one should listen to you. But in 2020, the US government officially confirmed the existence of UAPs, which are unidentified aerial phenomenon. And in 2023, military officials testified before Congress that there are objects in our Air Force or airspace that cannot be explained. They didn't say aliens, but they also didn't say weather balloons.
Has the government conducted secret UAP crash retrieval programs, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, were they designed to identify and reverse engineer alien craft, yes or no?
Yes.
In your book, you mentioned government employees who've been injured by UAPs placed on leave and receiving government compensation for their injuries. Is that correct?
That is correct.
How can the government deny we have recovered craft if they're paying people because they've been injured by recovered craft?
Ma'am, that's a great question. That's why I think we're here again.
Do you believe UAPs pose a potential threat to our national security?
Yes, and here's why. The technology that we faced was far superior than anything that we had.
Do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
The Pentagon has denied Grush's claims.
Biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
So what does that do to all those people who were mocked for over 70 years and called a kook or called crazy conspiracy theorists, only for the government to casually disclose, hey, well, actually, there are things in the sky that we don't understand. We don't understand and we don't know where they came from. I think more must be done for those people than just sweeping it under the rug or just casually mentioning that there are things in our skies that we don't understand and we can't identify. I think they deserve an apology. Anyways, Roswell wasn't even the beginning of the alien conversation. Some researchers point to ancient records, like Sumerian carvings that allegedly depicted Anunnaki, who were said to have descended from the heavens down to earth. Mainstream historians say they were more symbolic, religious iconography, but my question for those historians would be, where did these ancient people get the visuals to portray these symbolic religious iconographies in the first place? Let me know what you think in the comments, because this is all crazy and interesting. In conclusion, I personally don't know what to think about this whole event, but it is interesting that the official story includes the government admitting that they originally misled the public about what was really going on at Roswell. I'm glad that I decided to investigate this incident, and I definitely think it would be interesting to dig deeper into this event and all the theories around it. So make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you're notified when the next video in the series drops. So now I want to hear from you. What do you think really happened in Roswell, New Mexico in the summer of 1947? Was it classified Cold War tech, a misunderstood balloon, or something not of this earth? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious. If Roswell showed us anything, it's that once trust is broken, people start looking for the hidden hand moving all the pieces. And speaking of which, in the next episode of Drawing Conclusions, we will be pulling back the curtain on the Illuminati, the secret society that supposedly pulls all the strings in our world. But until then, stay curious, stay cozy, and keep drawing your own conclusions. Peace. Damn, this is a lot to